Meet Tanwar Singh, a seasoned running enthusiast who takes in about 50 races a year. No mean feat for a recreational athlete who counts running as a mere hobby. But what separates War Singh from other runners is that he prefers to do his running barefoot. Having run without shoes for the past decade, the quantum-based engineer by trade has managed to complete an incredible 29 marathons, clocking in at 3.3 minutes and several other races, all in his bare soles.
There are few advantages I noticed. One thing, I don't have to carry my shoe. Okay, to all sort of places, because you run outstation and you run overseas, you don't have to put on, to carry the shoes along. There's to take a lot of space and for other things. And the other thing that I don't have to sort out what sort of shoe I want to buy. There are so many brands, and a lot of people will say, oh, because of you have a wider feet, you got to buy this wider kind of shoes and things like that. Even though I try that, nothing works. That's what I want. So I did try it, but I found that running barefoot is still the best way. Maybe suits me. I find it.
But as anyone that has tried to run barefoot will testify, speed is something that one has to sacrifice for safety.
You talk about running barefoot without injuries, it's not true. Most common injuries which comes about is, especially when you begin to start to run barefoot, where your sole is not been really hardened yet or seasoned yet, you will tend to get a little better. Those stones, there's a big sharp that get into the skin. That cause a bit of discomfort. But you tend to run finish, then only you discover it. So imagine in the first place when they talk about barefoot, there's no negative kind of attitude towards it. So how could a person want to start barefoot in that case?
For recreational runners like John and James Wong, barefoot running, or at least running with the latest lightweight minimalist footwear, seemed interesting enough to try after having read all the research about its advantages in terms of injury prevention.
For me, it's purely by accident, because when I trained we trained for our first marathon last year, for the Penang Bridge Marathon. I kind of got in a pickle where I injured my right knee, so I was running on normal Nike shoes. So it was like it's from there that I thought of running barefoot. No, barefoot wasn't one of the solutions actually. I was thinking what made my leg hurt so much, and I did a bit of research. I went to the sports doctor, lay off for a couple of weeks in a 16-week program to the marathon, and then kind of stumbled upon barefoot. Found a lot of people had the same problem as I did. Once they started barefoot, what happened is the injury miraculously disappeared.
Well, partly I've got John to thank for it, for getting me into barefoot running, but I think the objective was pretty much different between him and myself. For him it was more like an injury. For me it was something that I wanted to try out. I thought it was an interesting thing because the most natural form of human running is barefoot. Ever since before the creation of shoes, they have been running barefoot. So I'm actually training for a few more marathons. And I've been hearing from feedback and some literature that going barefoot actually helps strengthen my feet. So I'm not a full-time barefoot runner, so I alternate. So that's partly the reason why I'm doing barefoot.
Like John and James Wong, Su Mei To embraced the art of running barefoot after tiring of suffering yet another ankle sprain or foot injury. After enduring months of blood and blisters that came with trying to condition her foot running barefoot, the plucky sports enthusiast who swims, cycles and hikes regularly finally made a breakthrough to barefoot running and has been injury-free ever since.
I used to get a lot of ankle sprains when I was using shoes, when I was wearing shoes. And it got so frequent that, within the span of a year, I spent more weeks recovering from an ankle sprain than actually doing any running. And I just started looking around for, options for injury-free running, and came across barefoot running in my research. Read more into it. It was Barefoot Ken Bob's site, and it just made sense. It was very logical. The foot has evolved over a million years, and we were runners. We were, primal runners. We chased after prey, so we were made to run barefoot. And so I tried it, and that's it. And it worked. It took a long time to transition, But it was much better, to be able to go out and run, whether it's just for 1 or 2 kilometers barefoot at first. It was much better than being injured all the time, right?
Barefoot running, albeit after a painful transition, has enabled Sumei to rediscover the pure joy of running with no injuries to speak of.
Yes, there was pain in the first, first couple of months, I'd say, and just running around the block, maybe 200 meters, 300 meters, you go, shit, can I say that? Enough is enough. And I get blisters after that 200 meters or whatever. So this was, for a couple of weeks or for, I forget now, a couple of months, and then you're slowly increasing it. It's basically finding the correct form of running where you're not, where your foot's contact with the ground is just basically up, down, just touching and not any sort of friction. Once you do get to learn enough about how your body moves and be able to move efficiently, it's just amazing. And I just ran for the pure joy of running. It's like, especially after rain, it's amazing. You're looking for the puddles, right? Whereas when you're wearing shoes, you're like, oh, I don't want to get my shoes wet because it's a horrible feeling running in wet shoes. So yeah, you're just like, aiming for the puddles and you're running in the grass, and the feeling is just, it's just pure joy lah.
With more and more people taking to running barefoot recreationally, barefoot running has been the talk of the running industry. But barefoot running is not some newfangled movement. Humans have been actually running barefoot or with basic sandals for protection for years. And who can forget barefoot idols like Zola Bud Peters from South Africa and Adibi Bikila from Ethiopia, who blazed the Olympic glory minus shoes. 13 years ago, American barefoot advocate Ken Bob Saxton, aka Barefoot Ken Bob, who races either barefoot or wearing just the latest and minimalist footwear, set up his popular running website runningbarefoot.org and a forum in 2001 to discuss and promote the movement. These days, more runners are opting to wear minimalist footwear like the Vibram Five Fingers, which is basically as close as a runner can get to being barefoot, with all the improvements to foot strength, balance, agility, and range of motion that goes with it, but without some of the risks. But before we ditch our shoes and hit the road, experts warn that most arguments promoting barefoot running tend to generalize too much. Kuala Lumpur-based podiatrist Mark Reinaker of South Africa says that barefoot running is something that doctors have always recognized as a technique used to strengthen the foot, as well as the technique used by runners as part of their training process.
I feel that it is wrong to generalize and say barefoot running is good, everyone will run barefoot. Because I can tell you that 80% of the people you're going to say that to will hate you for telling them that, because it's going to hurt.